Hello, friends, and welcome back to the InterWorld Podcast, where we explore the intersection of personal and collective transformation. My name is Yasha, and I work as a PhD researcher in the field of psychology and well being, as well as a founder of the InterWorld Institute for Inner World Peace. You can learn more about our nonprofit initiatives by going to interworld.org. Today, I have the great honor and pleasure of speaking with the renowned musical artist Sierra Marin. Sierra describes herself as a reggae fey hop artist. So she's a multi-instrumentalist, a music producer, a fellow rapper, which is always fun, and a practitioner of healing arts that's dedicated to uplifting sovereignty through her creative expression. So I've been seeing Sierra Marin really take off in the music scene, the sort of conscious festival circuit, and playing a lot of events all over the place with a lot of my close friends. So I think it's been a long time coming that we finally get to meet each other and connect. And who knows, hopefully there's some event collaborations in the future as well. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Sierra Marin. Hey, sister, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Yasha. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. Today is a beautiful day. Spring is here. It's actually really hot here in San Diego, and yeah, feeling really blessed and excited for what's to come.
Yeah, beautiful. So you're in San Diego right now. I've always wanted to visit. I hear it's a really beautiful place. And I know we were both just in Hawaii. So I see you touring all over, and we'll get to all of that. But before we do, I just want to invite you to share with us a little bit more about your journey and your story, kind of where your path has led you from into this life of music and travel, and just share your mission with that too, because I know that the intro doesn't always do it justice. So maybe you can introduce yourself for us a little more.
Sure. So, gosh, so musically speaking, when I was a kid, I found music. I found piano when I was about 9 years old, and I was a very empathetic, sensitive, shy child. Just felt everything, and when I found piano, it's funny because a sister, I think I was about 9. She brought over a little like toy little piano thing. It was like one octave, and she taught me how to play the Rugrats theme song. And I showed it to my parents, and they were like, "Oh my God!" And so they, bless them, just like uplifted, and were like, "Okay, they borrowed a piano from my auntie and put me in lessons." And yeah, piano became the way for me to really like express the unexpressible, especially at that age. And I was so like silenced, like public school and all that stuff. So I would just, for hours and hours, improvise on piano as a kid. And music was always just like, I always saw that for myself, like in my most inner world. And yet, as I grew older, I was, classically trained, but it was very much like, okay, you got to go to school, get into a good college because this is just a hobby, like a lot of that kind of verbiage from society and stuff and family. Um, so as I got older, music kind of took a back, I put it on the back burner and really started to focus on school more and ended up going to UC Santa Barbara for psychology. I got my degree there and I ended up minoring in Indigenous studies. And I remember getting there and waking up. I was like living in the dorms and such a beautiful campus. And I remember waking up one morning and just being like, how did I get here? Like, I was kind of on autopilot of what I believed I was supposed to do. Um, and yet, I'm so, so grateful for that experience. I'm so, so grateful for everything I learned. And so for the next 4 years, I took all these classes on, Indigenous studies, anthropology, feminist studies, Black studies, all kinds of things. And I love learning. So it was really powerful and beautiful. And I remember my final semester, I took a class called positive psychology, and it blew my mind because my entire, degree I'd been studying, sickness and, how to mitigate that. And to be honest, a lot of my professors came from a place of very like dogmatic, egoic Western medicine background, and it was really depressing for me. And meanwhile, I started, going to music festivals. I went to Lucidity, which is started in Santa Barbara. I went for the first year. I think I was like 19, and that blew my whole mind open of what's possible. But yeah, so my final semester, I realized, so positive psychology is the psychology of happiness and mindfulness. We would do mindfulness meditations in class and studied what it is that makes people happy. And I remember like the three main things was community and flow state. How often are you in your flow state doing what you love? Um, and I'm actually forgetting the third one in this moment, but yeah, these things just like resonated so true to my soul. And I remember that semester realizing the word that just came and illuminated itself for me as the theme of everything I've been studying for the last 4 years was sovereignty. And I had been learning how sovereignty's been stripped away methodically throughout the ages, through society. Um, and so I got very clear in my heart that I would live this life in service to uplifting the sovereignty for all beings in any and all ways I can. And I started having visions of, a school of unlearning and like a retreat center where people can come and come home to themselves. It's like so much of us becoming who we truly are is just unbecoming all the stuff, all the layers, all the masks that we, took on growing up and in this society that doesn't really nurture our uniqueness. But I feel like that's changing, and there's more communities such as yours, which is so exciting, like popping up and growing. And okay, after college, I came home to San Diego, started working, was drinking a lot. I was in a partnership where like we would go to the bar and I would get blacked out, and just really a lot of darkness was coming into my field because I wasn't using any spiritual tools and I wasn't expressing myself creatively at the time. So there was no like sense of purpose. And so I was spiraling. I wasn't using my gifts. And I had an experience where one night me and my ex got in a fight and I was drunk and I drove my car as fast as I could and I crashed and I totaled my car and ended up, going to jail, getting a DUI, sitting in jail for the night, not knowing if I had hurt anyone. I didn't know because I didn't know what happened. I left my body, and it was like I wasn't inhabiting my body, so other beings were like, "Okay, you're not gonna take space here. I'll come right in." Spirits. But so that was like my first like big cosmic timeout. And it really slowed me down and required me and gave me the opportunity to like look at my stuff and look at myself. And I ended up doing like all the classes, and there was a women's group that was like part of the process of this getting a DUI, and I'd never done that. So a weekly women's group, and I was seeing women who were even further down, like their third DUI and all these things, and it was like very sobering. But we were applying all these psychological things I had studied to ourselves, and it was really beautiful. I really enjoyed it actually. And I remember my when I finally finished all my classes, I got everything done. At this point, I had no car because I'd totaled it. That partnership ended. I had no license. And a sister came over one day, and I was grieving the loss of that relationship and a lot. And she came over, and she'd been living in Mount Shasta. And she gave me this, she had this wine bottle and some sage, and she gifted it to me. And I was like, "Oh, is this wine?" And she's like, "No, it's water. It's from the headwaters at Mount Shasta." And I was like, "What? What is that?" And I remember just drinking it and just immediately just tears started flowing down my face, and like the water activated something in me. And then from that moment, I knew, and I didn't even speak it out loud, but like that I was going to Mount Shasta. And so within like a week, I packed my backpack, got my guitar, my hula hoop, and I started catching rides up north. I landed at Lightning in a Bottle Festival, and I met some kids on a school bus. And they were like, we're going to Mount Shasta. We just got this bus. And I was like, what can I do on the bus? And so they were like, yeah, come on. And they're all, seasoned travelers and train hoppers. And so they taught me how to, fly signs and busk. So every single day we would busk to fill the gas tank and to eat and everything. And so on my way up to Shasta, I like learned so much. And for the next year and a half, I spent every dollar that I made was with my guitar on a street corner or at a farmer's market or at a gas station. And traveling mostly all over the Northwest, but I spent a lot of time in Shasta, Oregon, Idaho, festivals and hot springs and music was it became my home and my my best friend, like my guitar. I just remember having moments just like with my guitar where it was just like I would cry and just like feel like the body of this being that like if I allowed myself to be this vessel and trust, then I knew I was just viscerally feeling that I would be taken care of by Creator and protected too, because a lot of the time I was hitchhiking and I would put out my prayers, put out my protection and find my way to wherever I needed to be. Um, so my faith in humanity and music was restored through that experience. And at a certain point, though, I ended up living in Oregon for a winter in Williams, Oregon, and on a property with some really sweet community. And that was my first real winter. So I'm from San Diego, and I was just like, I went really inward that winter, and I was like, oh, this is what winter is. Did a lot of shadow work, a lot of tears, a lot of processing, a lot of Trevor Hall, like writing. And I remember, so at this point too, I was listening to a brother named Tubby Love a lot, like really, really loving his music. And one day, my friend Gabe, who was on the property I was living on, showed me this video because he loved Tubby too. And it was a video of Tubby Love saying, come on out to Big Island for Flow Fest, like calling all creators and change makers and blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, that's cool. I would love to do that, but I don't know how that would have aligned and let it go. The next day, my dad calls me and goes, Sierra, do you want to go to Big Island with me in January? Go see your uncle and I was like, yes, like I'll just get a one way. So I grew up going to Big Island with my dad. He would get jobs out there and we would go as a family while my dad would work. And so I already was connected to that island. And so I went with my dad for a week, hung out, did the family thing. He left and I hitched across from Kona to Pahoa and I landed at a festival called Manifest. And at this time I was like, I'd been busking and stuff, but I'd never performed and I had maybe two original songs. Like all of my busking for all that time was basically just freestyling. I would just freestyle for hours on street corners. And yeah, so I landed at Manifest, which is this festival in honor of the divine feminine. And I saw all of these women singing in their truth and their heart. Mary Isis, Amber Lily, like all these queens. And I just remember at one point in that day, I just broke into sobbing. And I was just like, this is what I've always wanted to do. And I know that, like, I know that in my soul. And so I stayed on the island, met friends, found places to stay, and wrote song after song after song. Like the island really, really held me. And I really felt so, yeah, so blessed. And also like this frequency of like the ancient nature of like my soul and my voice and like what my voice can hold slash carry and like what it's meant to do in this life. Like it really came through strong for me, being in the unknown and really just trusting in spirit, and being in Lemuria, And so Flow Fest came, the festival that Tubby was talking about on the phone, and I went there, and there was one little side stage that this woman named Alele, who is now one of my best friends, was managing. And there was one slot on Saturday, no one was playing. And so I walked up, I was like, hey, is there anyone playing at this? Like, could I share a set at this time? And she was like, fine with me. So I remember I went, I like, I didn't really know anyone in the community yet. And I like had my little mushroom chocolate and I got my outfit on and I went over to the stage with my guitar and I played my first set at a music festival and there's maybe like 6 or 7 people there, really chill. But I remember the trees at Green Lake were dancing and I just was watching these trees cheer me on. They were like, you're doing it, finally, you're doing it. And it was just so affirming and so beautiful. And I ended up staying on Big Island for quite a while after that and writing and going to every open mic I could. And people started learning my songs and coming to the open mic to like come sing along. And yeah, so that was like a huge birthing piece. And then from there, just started, coming back to the mainland and doing little tours, connected with the Festival Shangri-La, which is actually all the way in Minnesota, but a really special festival that this band Wookiefoot puts on. And it's really cool because when I was living on the school bus, Wookiefoot's music was like our theme songs. Like, Home Free and all these beautiful songs would just make us cry. We'd listen and sing them all together. And then I ended up, playing at this festival that they put on, and now they're my friends. And yeah, it's been just such a beautiful journey of like trusting the path and just continuing, just staying consistent. And, it's always an ebb and flow as a musician. But yeah, that was a really in-depth description of my story, but
No,
thank you.
that was great. I mean, that was a very fun way to hear such a big backstory, because I think you didn't really fully get to it or give it justice, perhaps out of humility or because that's you were focused on background. But now you literally were just touring with Tubby Love all over the Hawaiian
True.
Islands, and literally headlined Manifest just the other week, alongside one of my very good friends, Yasha Prisma. And so it's so fun and so epic that ultimately the story you just told, which started with, you know, just life stuff and school and not necessarily fitting into the mainstream system, but and then going into a dark place and through a whole period, but ultimately you end up, it's kind of like the rainbow fairy version of like a rags to riches tale, I think, because your music is very very visible now, reaching a lot of people, connecting with a lot of souls. People are singing along just like the trees were dancing for your first set with 7 people. Now there's, I don't know it's not about the numbers, but it's definitely blowing up. So congratulations on that. Really happy to see you touring so much and playing on big lineups and reaching so many people. It's really encouraging for other creatives who are also, struggling with the narrative, kind of the tricky narrative that has some truth to it, but also an element of like these imaginary obstacles and a certain indoctrination of like, you can't, actually, it's not a practical thing to really pursue your creative expression when it might be your soul's gift and your passion, and you're doing that, and it's working. I mean, I know, I think I saw you, I forget if it was with Satsang or who, but like just playing big shows lately. So maybe we'll transition into that in a sec. It's funny you mentioned Santa Barbara being a beautiful place to study psychology, because my PhD in psychology is at a Jungian Pacifica Institute in Santa Barbara.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd spent some time there, and especially appreciated hearing you talk about receiving this vision of like a school of unlearning and a retreat center, and mentioning our community, because this does seem to be such a common, universal, shared vision among so many people on the planet. Some version, some permutation of like building community and connection with the land, with a main focus on developing some new paradigm academy or mystery school, and kind of forging
Yes.
a new way to coexist, perhaps at a retreat center and a place where we can gather with people. And it's I love hearing that from different people, because that's exactly what we're doing with InterWorld, and that's what our land here is dedicated to. And I didn't even mention this to you, but the number one sort of priority of our institute and what we're developing is an academy. It's meant to be like a mystery school, alternative, new paradigm approach to education is like at the forefront of our project. So it was really cool to hear you name all of that. And I've met people like my partner and others who might not even be as adjacent to the kind of like music festival scene and stuff like this that you and I are both familiar with, but still have that same vision, like are tapped into this planetary sense that we need to create this new way of living with education of a new form at the forefront and come together in that way at some, in create these sacred spaces for that. Um, so yeah, thanks for
Oh,
saying all that, because that's what we're working on too, and it's cool to hear, that
right.
rip, echo and repeat and ripple in different people's journeys.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like it's in the field and we're all
Mm-hmm.
just tapping in. We were birthed in this, we chose to be born in this time to bring this consciousness onto the earth because it's our evolution. It's the only, I mean, it's so clear, like especially in the last like few months or years. I mean, it's so clear like the works that we've been doing is preparing for right now. And these are the moments of prophecy and it's so, so beautiful. Yeah. And can I share another piece to
Please,
the
yeah, of
story?
course.
So, life goes in these like we grow in these spiral patterns, right? And I've had these, times where I'm like riding high and like even in my music career, and then times where I'm like questioning everything. And so spirit brought me to, so as I've been evolving this vision of a school, the vision became it gained a name called Sovereign Tree. And so the vision is, we're all like the trees, right? Like when we're in our truest nature and truest form, like a tree doesn't question why it's here. A tree doesn't hesitate or say, well, maybe my art or my expression isn't valid. A tree is just in the isness, rooted to the earth, connected to the sky, and just, branching out. And so I love the metaphor of like having these limbs, like there's limbs of sovereignty. And so like that's part of the school that's evolving and developing online right now. But yeah, is taking these pathways of the limbs back to our center, back to ourself, and back to where really ultimately where we need to be as individuals in order to show up for the greater whole in a way that is effective and um, beautiful and not coming from a place of martyrdom or self-sacrifice, like coming from a place of like empowered knowing of what our needs are. And from that place, it's like you look at nature, there is no, it's all flow. Everything is dancing in this perfect unity with like the song of creation. And so that's where we get to come back to. And so, yeah, holding that vision to hold that space more. And so you mentioned before we got on the call, my partner, his name is Trev, also known as Trev Mental. He's a conscious hip hop artist, and yeah, stoked for you guys to connect too on that level. But yeah, so when I met him on Mount Shasta, actually, 2 years ago at Fairy Falls, it was just very auspicious the way that we connected, and we were both going through, big transitions in our lives and coming out of big relationships and stuff. We met and ended up connecting a little bit later more and sharing our visions. And he had a vision of artistry. And so we were sharing our visions with each other, and it was like, this is so in alignment. And so we've united our visions and our hearts under Sovereignty. And yeah, just to share with anybody who's interested in checking it out, sovereigntree.org is a nonprofit that we've just recently started. So I would really love to talk to you more about what you guys are doing. And we've began to have these, they're called New Earth Councils, and we do them at music festivals that we play and also now online monthly on Zoom. And we basically just gather and discuss ways in which we can be the change we want to see and really, really be the living bridges to the new earth because it's time. So combination of guided meditation, but also the council, like opening space for all voices to be heard, especially our elders, and really uplifting each other in our roles and connecting based in, sharing resources, sharing, we might be right down the street from a community that's looking for exactly what it is we want to share, and we might not know. So we need to have the conversation, right? And it's been really organic and really beautiful. And yeah, it'd be an honor if you ever want to join. I'll let you know about the next one. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that in because that's also just like a piece of the, yeah, multifaceted puzzle. I know it's happening all over the planet, and so it just feels so good to like trust that and just move from that place and trust that it's just going to continue to be guided and eventually we're going to get land and build the vision, build another node on the earth.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is so exciting and inspiring. We should definitely explore all kinds of collaboration. The vision is definitely overlapping. We call the different initiatives in our organization limbs, the 8 limbs of InterWorld. And yeah, it's pretty fascinating because we're basically developing what's meant to become a global hybrid holistic academy. So it includes in-person elements at locations like our eco village, but is also online courses. So
Yes.
there's a lot of overlap there. One of the newer members of our community, my co-founder's partner, um, who's moving into the eco village soon, is also very focused on both artistry and sovereignty in her path right now. So it'd be interesting to, yeah, just see what happens. Whether that's something like ciphering with Trev whenever we finally get to meet, or more involved with nonprofit collaboration and things like this.
Oh,
The where As I told you before the call, we're on 40 acres near Colorado Springs. But this is just meant to be the first campus of the institute, and then ultimately we'll be looking at other locations worldwide and creating, like you said, like nodes within a network of centers.
yeah.
And then on top of that, we have a network of partners and alliances where other affiliates, collaborators, people that are working on the same mission can also be part of, not just like our primary centers of InterWorld, but also the people that we're working with, like a whole web of connecting many different communities and projects with each other. So it'd be really good to hop on each other's group calls at some point and keep exploring ways to weave that together.
That'd be an honor. Thank you for the works you're doing in the world, brother.
Thank you. You too. And there's, the overlaps are many. Many of the names you mentioned have played Heartfire Festival events, whether that's Tubby Love or Trevor Hall and Amber Lilly
Aw,
and so on. So many of those people have come to different Heartfire festivals, which has been one of our projects. And it would be good to have you at the next one. I think we'll probably do something this year in Colorado, and we like to do more pop-up events in various places. So yeah, I'm
beautiful.
excited to do something in person too.
Yay.
So while we're here, I know this is a slightly shorter episode, so I just want a chance to ask you about some more topics on the music. First of all, you mentioned like the waters of Mount Shasta and the Lemurian legacy of the Hawaiian Islands, and all of these kind of transmissions of, uh, on one hand, something that's very ancient, on the other hand, very futuristic, and most relevant clearly to the transitions that we're in currently
Yeah,
right now in the present, as a species. So I just wanted to invite you to share with us a little bit how you feel like those more spiritual and multidimensional influences and energies and sacred places and traditions or lineages have influenced your music and your creative process, and just like your work and your walk in general, what your relationship is to, whether you mentioned elders or different
mm,
practices. I'm just curious how these uh, transformational and healing and inner alchemical arts and disciplines have influenced you.
beautiful. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Um, so I would love to begin with sharing about my mother. So my mom um, is a clairvoyant, and so she's very tapped in and tuned in with spirit and a very powerful energy worker, a very powerful being, and one of my greatest influences and inspirations in this life. And she's taught me so much. So when I was a kid, the church that we went to as a family was called the Church of the Earth and Sky. And so we would go to this house, and it was once a month, and the adults would do energy work and healings, and us kids would go into the back. There's like this little back house, and we would every time I remember we'd have all these papers and crayons, and we would draw ourselves and the earth, and we would draw our auras, and we would draw our grounding cords, and it's like psychic kindergarten. And so it could be whatever color you wanted, and your grounding cord would be made of whatever, and so I started learning like basic spiritual tools when I was very young. And I'm so grateful for that. I've like sat side chair, it's called, with my mom doing readings for a lot of my life. And it was very interesting growing up. My mom would call me like before I like was gonna do something crazy and just be like, hey, like, she's super tapped in. Um and I remember too, I'd have friends over and she'd be like, Sierra, you need to ground. And my friends would be like, what? You're grounded? I'm like, no, no, no. Like, we need to ground. So that's been a thing my whole life. And my dad's not really on that level. Like, he always had compassion for it, but he's like very much rooted in the physical. And I think it was really hard for my mom when I was growing up to like feel seen and honored. So there's always kind of like a split in the home in that way, like of energetic, like being spiritually rooted in base and being like more physically um oriented, I guess. And so I always felt like that was a beautiful thing to have a balance in that in my influence, but also I think for a long time, I saw that it caused my mom a lot of pain, almost feeling maybe alone in that. And I think it's a natural thing as a kid, we kind of like go the opposite direction of our parents for some time. So for some time, I had to, go my own way and then find my own way back to spirit and spirituality. And, crystals played a huge role in that. Um, Crystals and transformational music festivals that had, indigenous presence and prayer and workshops and it took me time for sure. So I'm just so grateful for her influence, and I feel like what she's taught me has integrated into like the way I speak and a lot of the language I use in my music. And I just see that music is one of the most powerful tools we have to influence change and healing. And it's amazing because, it's about 7 or 8 years ago, my parents ended up splitting up, and it was really intense and very difficult for my mom. And she had a CD of mine, and she told me it was like how she made it through. Um, and she actually ended up going to Mount Shasta for like a year and living up there and just listening to the songs over and over again, she said, and doing all of her own amazing works. But it's just so cool that like just to know that my music helped my mom in that way is like, okay, it's enough. But anyway, so along this journey, when I was going to festivals before I was performing or offering anything, I was definitely in the like psychonaut world of lots of psychedelics and, Grateful Dead shows and LSD really actually was like um, very transformative for me and very beautiful. And there was a lot of trauma that came with that too, going into these like party spaces with substance and not having any tools or grounding or ceremonial, not, no knowledge of protocol, no acknowledgement of what that even is. So there's a lot of beauty in that for me, connecting to spirit and God, but no integration. And eventually I ended up connecting with a beautiful shaman through another partner of mine. And he was playing music in her ceremonies when we met. And so I got to sit for my first time with grandmother and in the home, in our home that we were living in. And it was so beautiful and life-changing and really, really just clarified everything. Like we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Like there's absolutely no doubt about that. And I give thanks to God for this journey every single day. And uh, the gift of the ceremony and prayers and the ikaros and the protection and like really grounding the container for healing and spirit and integration to happen is such a gift and so important. I'm grateful it found me when it did, but it was definitely a journey, getting there. And so yeah, so for me, um, I meditate as often as I can, and the earth is really, nature is really my soul's home. And Hawaii and Shasta and places like that, Mama Ocean here in San Diego is that's where I feel truly myself. And so it's been really beautiful because, when I was traveling the road, just like being in the flow, being in nature, I love. But now with touring, it's like I get to kind of schedule out my journey and be on the road and be in nature with an even greater sense of purpose and service. And so, like, this music is not my career, this is my dharma. And I'm learning how to walk it and, play it in a way where it's financially, sustainable for me. And also, it's such a balance of trust, like this is like a walk of faith. And um, yeah, I really believe that this is a living mystery school. Each of us are living in here these lives, and there's such an opportunity for so much growth and magic, and the relations that we're building, the communities that we get to visit and bring this music to are so beautiful. Like witnessing the new earth being birthed in all over the country, I haven't done much international touring yet, but calling that in for next year. And yeah, just in the US alone, though, there's so many beautiful, earnest, authentic, in integrity-based beings that are really just so ready. And a lot of them don't necessarily have a place to do the works that they know they're here to do. So I feel like the music brings a sense of coherence, and also the festivals, these sacred spaces that we're creating, bring a sense of like safety and structure, just like the ceremony, for our gifts, for our souls to speak and to be witnessed in our unique medicine. And so, yeah, with this music for me, it's like when I can hold that space, like, and it's growing stronger as I'm learning more how to like kind of hold the field on a stage. It's a very strange and interesting thing. Holding the field of like uplifting my brothers and my sisters and reflecting, just like mirroring back to them and amplifying like how incredibly beautiful they are and how incredibly important they are at this time on the planet and in all times. But um, yeah, and that's my dharma. That's like big spiritual work for me.
Mm,
And I'm learning more every single day, recently been getting a lot more interested in the journey of Yeshua
mm,
and Mary Magdalene and um, yeah, some of the Essene teachings.
mm,
And yeah, it's been really powerful. And that Trev played a big influence on that for me because he was really like on that path of, he's from Salt Lake City. So just like clarifying, like bringing truth, speaking truth. And he raps about that a lot. And I had a lot of closed offness to that at first because I was like, oh, Jesus, there's so much like pain in his name, but it's been so beautiful and like liberating to really see and feel the true essence of Yeshua and the true essence of Mary Magdalene and the fact that they walked together and supported each other and like that they really actually he had a community around him, the disciples, they were walking the planet. It's like we are like in a similar, I mean, maybe not quite the same, but a very similar example of what he did, and we get to uplift and hold space for each other and for the living prophecies that are unfolding through us all, and it's amazing. Yeah.
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 Beautiful. I really appreciate it, especially hearing you share about how, the earth itself and our existence as people here is the actual school, because we're talking about a school and all these different, ideas, but the only true esoteric school of inner growth and transformation is this life that we're all in, and we're all in it, one, whether consciously or unconsciously, whether quickly or slowly, one way or
Yeah.
another. It's usually roundabout. It's usually some steps forward, some back. It's not necessarily linear, predictable that much, but it is, um a school that we're going through, and
Right.
different grades and and processes to learn through all the different experiences that we're living here. And so that's why everything, to me, that's a really healing attitude towards life, be in a practical way through our practical daily challenges in our work and our relationships, because it shows us that there's nothing to like really contract around, because all of it, no matter how difficult, is part of that learning process, or unlearning, if you want to call it that. But all of it is full of lessons for our growth, and it's all part of a process and a school. So it's all perfect as it is, which is quite liberating, I think, comforting
Yeah.
in the discomfort. So
Yeah.
yeah, thanks for sharing
Something just
that.
came
Yeah, go
through
ahead,
as
go
you were
ahead.
saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because okay, so like using the example of the journey of Yeshua, so it's like all of the like life is the mystery school, right? Life is the big play where we're like assisting Mother Earth and shifting her consciousness through our walk. And it's like Yeshua and his crew, the disciples or whatever, they went to Egypt and went into these mystery schools in preparation for the big one, like the big example of our eternal nature, where he knew and they knew they would be faced with like the greatest contrast of darkness in this physical world. And so they were like, it's training. It's like they're practicing to be able to, when the moment comes, hold the light, hold forgiveness, hold that eternal nature of the truth of our being and who we really came here to be, and what this earth school really is about. Like holding that light, that Christ consciousness in the face of the darkest of the dark. And I'd say we're in the like one of the, I mean, at least from what I'm aware of, like the greatest opportunity for that right now is here. And yeah, so like holding, if we get caught in judgment of others and negating and criticism of others, and that whole paradigm of punishment just continues through us. And when we can take that like radical responsibility for ourselves, and by doing through doing the work, we learn through the works that we're more and more mystery schools, more and more opportunities and containers are coming, and just like allowing our higher self, our spirit, to guide us to what it is that's right for us. If we're meant to work with a teacher, if we're meant to work with a plant medicine or community or whatever that is, like we have these opportunities to really integrate that and to hold the light.
Mm. Yeah, I really appreciate what you're saying. I think it's really important, even and especially for, New Agers and
Mm,
people that might have a more unusual lifestyle and perspective, is like, what dogmas are we bringing with us into that world or scene or culture? Because it's not meant to be a fashion, it's a whole paradigm shift in our whole being. And so I think when
right,
we approach it like a fad or something, and then we bring our old tendencies with us, then we can, even within that world and that subculture, get caught easily in like divisions and criticisms and all
right,
kinds of like wound and blame and all types of stuff like that. And I think that exactly what you're saying is essential. We all have our own unique path, and it's fine to differentiate that. But at the same time, if there is this shared vision we're all working on, the only way to get there is if we kind of overcome those differences, I think. And like you said, take radical responsibility for ourselves and our lives, our experience, our impact on others, rather than looking to point the finger.
yeah,
And I think that's an important lesson, even and especially for those of us that are interested in this kind of trajectory. Um, so I appreciate you bringing that up. I think it's wise and valuable for people to reflect on that. And yeah, I just, as wild and tumultuous as the times we live in might seem, that at least brings things to the surface. And like you said, the
mm,
more obvious the shadow side of things becomes, the more opportunity there is to shine a light there. And so it's actually
mm,
helpful for us to realize how much we can live through and survive, and how much we can overcome and grow from. and it kind of breaks us open a bit, makes us a little softer, a little more mature to realize how much as a collective we're all going through, and that we can still, overcome that as well, and that our power lies there.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you for everything you've shared today. It's been really inspiring, really fun conversation. Happy to start connecting with each other now. And um, we're going to wrap up here in a minute. So I just wanted to ask a couple last questions. The first one is, you shared a little bit about your creative journey, as well as your influences and mission. And a lot of people also share that their creative process feels like they're a conduit for some higher intelligence that's just expressing through them. And I'm curious if you could share just a few quick words on your creative process, because a lot of the music that you've been
Mm.
traveling and putting out, I know, is original, creation that's coming through you. And so if you could share just a few words on what that process is like. I don't know how much you're currently sharing new work versus stuff you've been singing since you were busking at the beginning of the story, but yeah, maybe you could share a little bit about how that goes and how that's evolved, and even bless us with a glimpse of, if you feel like it, just a little taste of your music, and whether it's something written or freestyle, singing or rapping, whatever you feel to share, if you're open to it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Hey, so I get this question a lot about my creative process, and it's so always so interesting to share. I don't have like any kind of finite linear answer, and I think that's just a reflection of the fact that it is not a linear process for me. Um, Music contains the word muse, right? And I feel like the muse strikes in moments um, that often that we least expect, and that's part of the nature of like how beautiful art is. Um, And it's up to us to learn within ourselves how to be available to the muse and to allow it. And so, a big part of my roots is freestyling. And so, to me, freestyling, even like, in the back in the day, it was just I would put on like hip hop instrumentals and just freestyle forever, for hours and hours. Like, um, that allows us to open our channel, and you start to see that you are a vessel. It's like something beyond you is moving through, and maybe that's just your higher self. It's all perspective, and maybe it depends on where, what the moment is, and what's needed. But I find that the more we allow ourselves to like channel um spirit or whatever, without having an expectation, without having like this clenchy idea of like, okay, I gotta write a hit. Like that to me is like the ultimate creativity blocker. For me. Uh, the more we do that, the more like that channel opens. It's like this flow of creative energy. And like something just that I want to point out is like you notice this. Like I notice this when I'm singing, even if it's a pre-written song, when I'm singing from a place of being a vessel and knowing and remembering that this is not mine and it's not ultimately about me, that I'm here in service. Um, I actually have more access to my voice. I have a wider range when I'm freestyling. My freestyles just make more sense and are deeper. And like, if I can really get out of my own way, I can tap into like four lines ahead and tell a story. So and when my mind starts to get in there and I'm like, oh, how are they receiving this? Like in a show or whatever. What do they think? Oh, they probably want me to be more this way or whatever. That's when the flow blocks and actually lose my voice more often and more quickly from that place when I sing from that place. It's really amazing. I think that energy workers could probably like healers could feel the same thing, when you're doing massage work and you're allowing source to flow through. You're not just like with your own will doing this work, then you actually gain energy. You're not giving your own life force energy. Um, so I think that's a really crucial piece in like maintaining our humility too. And also in moving through writer's blocks is remembering like this isn't about me. Like what is in the highest service? Um, and yet double-edged sword because it is really an internal process. So For me, my creativity, a lot of time, like I just love writing poetry. Um, it's like my journal entries a lot of time. And I think it feels really good to allow my emotion and like the intimacy of my inner world to be expressed, and to be witnessed in that is also very healing. And to see how that can inspire others and how we reflect and have very similar experiences as humans here on Earth at this time is so beautiful. Um, so a lot of time I write, I have my loop set up and I'll just a little progression will come through and I'll just build from that. And then I'll freestyle and see what happens, or I'll take a poem that I wrote a year ago and put that in, like, oh, that sounds good. Okay, then let's think of a hook. So it's very organic, it's very unorganized. And it's really fun. So, emphasis on the power of play. We play music, we don't do music, you know? And I think that's important also for us to remember. Yeah, and then with music production too, similarly, it's like it really helps me when I allow myself to have that frequency of play. And also co-creation really, really helps, I think, anchor these artistic offerings. Like I have two songs that I wrote years ago that I've been wanting to record. I'm actually working on an album right now. I'm planning to release it. Here's a great accountability. Is me saying this out loud. I'm planning to release it summer solstice, and it's going to be my first like actual album called This Is Me. And so two of these songs I've been wanting to record forever. And my dear brother Gabe, who plays bass with me, we've played together for like 6 years, came over and he laid down some bass, but ultimately he was just holding space and we like busted out these songs. So the power of co-creation is everything. And I think that's also reflective of the times, right? We're meant to be co-creating, we're meant to be uplifting each other in that way, and helping anchor the vision, right? When two or more are gathered. I hope that answered your question. I'm sorry, I'm kind of like a
No,
little.
that's great. I love it. Actually, I might as well tell you because maybe this is a
Okay.
good sign about where you're headed. When I interviewed Trevor Hall years ago, I asked him a similar question. And I know you said you don't have a finite answer, but it was almost identical. He basically said the same exact thing. He like verbatim also said that the biggest creative block is when he's thinking about the numbers and the crowds and success, and that stops it from coming through. And when he gets himself out of the way and lets it flow kind of devotionally, playfully, then that's when it happens. And so it was almost an identical answer, which I think is promising and meaningful. And so I figured I might as well say that because that's fun. And yeah,
Wow.
invite you to share if you want to. No pressure, but a quick
Oh yeah.
taste for us. Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
if you feel like it.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm also learning. I just got a looper from my friend Shanti, who we did a retreat here on the land last year in the yurt, and he just
Shanti.
crushed it. Yeah, he just like
I love
crushed it with
Shanti.
and the looper was so fun. Like because we had a talent show with all the retreat participants, and he actually knows what he's doing with it. So I had him come over and help, and we were doing the looper and like a bunch of different people, and the whole thing layered. It was so fun. So I'm excited to learn how to do that next.
Oh, so
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
yeah,
It's exponential, the growth.
yeah.
Let's see. So I don't have my guitar with me right in this moment, but let's see. Can you still see me?
Yeah, I can. And sorry, I should have given you a heads up. I didn't think of it, but whatever you want to share if you feel like it.
I could grab it. It would take
Up
me
to
like
you.
one minute. Is that
Sure.
okay?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. So this song is called Love is Medicine, and I wrote this one just a few days into landing on Big Island. And I just like got in such a great space of like, oh, I'm here. And okay, yeah, let it speak for itself. But it's for love.
There's ever evolving ebb and flow that's bringing me back into the know that my higher self has got my back.
Choo.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. That was
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Yeah, I love it. Well, no wonder that everyone's celebrating your music. I can tell why. Thanks for sharing it. Yeah, it's well
My gosh.
deserved. Thanks for sharing it with us here now and also with the world. So, blessings on the international touring intention. You can come back on the podcast for your accountability check in after the summer solstice and let us know how the album's going.
Let's go.
And by then I'll also do my accountability check on improving how we can feature live music on the podcast with the sound coming through well. So I'll work on
Word.
that. You'll work on the album, and then we'll reconvene and go from there. So it's been really great having you on. I was going to ask you about advice for people because of how you have been, in my opinion, blowing up, so to speak, your music and the shows you're playing, and the reach has been growing quickly and lately. I mean, I know there's a lot
Mm.
behind the scenes that goes into that first, but it's been really inspiring and cool to see that. And if you want to share it on it now, you can. I don't know what the biggest shows you've been playing are. I know it's not really about that, but it's definitely want to give you your flowers as an artist for getting there with that, and I hope it keeps growing.
Mm.
And I know a lot of people are inspired by that. So if you want to speak to that for a moment, you can, and if you want to save
Sure.
it for the next one, we can also do that. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say coming coming from a place of full devotion and yet detachment, which I
Mm,
feel like applies to probably so much of being a human, has really, really helped me. And I have opportunities all the time to continue to return to that. And yeah, creating from a place of authenticity within and not catering to, not people pleasing through our art. How
mm,
ironic is that? Um, I think is so important. And I think that people feel that and people need that and we need that. So it's not only healing for ourselves, but it's healing for others. There's no limit to the ripple that we can make, especially now in this day and age. It's like, I feel like the industry thing is kind of on its way out. It's helpful still, I'm sure, and I would be open to it if it was ever like really aligned. But I'm 100% independent, doing everything myself, and yet it's a community thing, like everyone that has like listened to a song, come to my shows, like booked me at festivals, like seen me. It's that's huge. And I think one of the main things too that I would highlight is just building relations is like crucial. Like I was attending and working crew for festivals for years before I started reaching out to play them. And I feel like that was really helpful for me to like start to get to know the vibe and get to know some of the people. And yeah, connections are huge. Friends, uplifting each other, like really supporting each other, building these networks, and just getting out there and creating now. Like there's this thought inside, I think a lot of us, that it's like, oh, well, when I'm ready or when I'm good at this or when I'm good at that, it's like we grow by doing the thing that we want to do. So, um, yeah, just do it. Be in your
mm.
devotion and have fun.
Yeah, amen to that. Just do it. I love it.
Yeah.
So good. That's what it's all about. Definitely can relate. And it's also really funny the way you describe devotion yet detachment is almost the
Mm.
same exact thing that a Swami, a Hindu Swami of all people, on this podcast, and I were talking about just a few episodes ago. Funny
Wow.
enough, and it relates to this thinking that I've been doing in my own innovation around psychology of like what directional investment looks like instead of focusing on the end point or stagnating without doing anything. It's like investing in the direction and the process and engaging that, so
Yes.
that you're kind of devoted to the momentum but detached from the results, sort of thing, which
Right.
relates to some Hindu teachings, so it's no wonder that it came up with him too. And funny enough, we're hosting him for a satsang at a counseling center downtown Colorado Springs in exactly 1 week for the
Oh,
spring equinox. With Swami Aniruddha. Unfortunately, I think this episode will probably come out right after that's done, but I figured I'd mention it just in
amazing.
case. Yeah. And yeah, feel free to stay in touch and share things through our platform, and we'll see you again soon. And thank you again so much for coming on. It's been a great pleasure speaking with you and an honor to meet you and connect this way, and looking forward for more to come.
Me too, brother. So grateful. Thank you so much for all that you are, for creating the space.
Thank you, sister. Peace.
Adios.